She stood in the doorway, holding a basket she'd forgotten she was carrying. Her eyes were fixed on him, back turned, shoulders slouched in front of a glowing screen. Headphones on, hood up, the light from the monitor cast long shadows on his face, but none of it reached the hallway where she stood. She wasn't sure if he saw her, or if he even would have looked up. Still, she stayed a second longer, just in case. She set the table like she always did. 2 plates, 2 cups. Hope had become routine. She sat down quietly, eyes flicking to the empty chair. The steam rose from his mug for a while, then faded. She began eating in silence, slowly, like it might bring him closer. Upstairs, a low bass line played behind a closed door, and the chair across from her stayed untouched, just like last night, and the one before that. The door was cracked open, just enough for the hallway light to spill in. She stood on the other side, her fingers resting against the frame. Inside, he lay on the bed, fully dressed, face turned to the wall. Music leaked faintly from his headphones, his phone still clutched in one hand. She didn't step in. She wasn't sure she could. That room, once filled with bedtime stories and Lego towers, now felt like foreign ground. Her voice stayed in her throat, and the moment passed. The photo sat quietly on the shelf. A younger her, arms wrapped around a laughing boy with a too big backpack. His joy was simple, his smile effortless. She picked up the frame, wiping the dust away with her sleeve. Her finger lingered on his face, the little boy who told her everything, who hugged her at the gate like letting go was impossible. Now she couldn't remember the last time he'd looked at her like that. She set the photo back, not because she was ready, but because dinner was getting cold. She held up the flyer with a small, hopeful smile. Palm trees. Spring break. Just the 2 of them. He barely glanced. Nah, I've got plans. And then he was gone, up the stairs, eyes locked to his phone. The flyer drooped in her hand. Her smile faded. She stood still in the hallway, sunlight catching the dust in the air, reminding her of all the plans that had quietly slipped away. She sat on the edge of her bed, the glow of her phone lighting her face. On the screen, his name. 3 words typed, but not sent. Want to talk? Her thumb hovered, unsure. The bed beside her was untouched. The silence in the room pressed in from every side. She looked at the old photo on her nightstand, his gap-toothed smile beaming from a birthday long ago. It felt like a message from someone she hadn't seen in years, even though he lived just down the hall. She paused outside his room, hand hovering just above the wood. Behind it, muffled music thumped faintly, a world closed off. She placed her palm flat against the door, as if trying to feel him through it. No knock, no words, just that fragile moment of standing near someone she used to hold so easily. Sunlight spilled across the hallway behind her, but the door stayed shut, like too many things between them. Rain tapped gently on the window as she stood still, the room dim and quiet. In her hands, an old birthday card, crayon-colored, its corners curled with time. To the best mom ever, it said in clumsy, joyful handwriting. Inside, a stick figure hug and a red heart. She traced the words slowly, her thumb brushing over the faded ink. Outside, the world blurred behind the rain, but the ache inside her was sharp, vivid, and real. She wasn't looking for anything, just tape or scissors maybe. But her hand touched a crumpled page, buried under receipts and tangled pens. Lyrics, doodles, a single heart in the corner. One line circled, I wish I knew how to explain what's wrong with me. Her hand froze. Her throat tightened. He had never said anything, but somehow he had. There was a time he couldn't leave her side. At the school gate, he would grip her hand, bouncing in his too big backpack, waiting for one more hug. His smile had no filters then, just teeth and sunlight. She remembered brushing his hair back, kissing his cheek. He never minded. Now she couldn't remember the last time they'd touched. But this memory stayed, bright, untouched, still hers. In the fading light of his room, she sat on the edge of his bed. It still smelled faintly of his shampoo and sleep. The birthday card lay open in her lap. Her fingers traced the red crayon heart, the words in a child's hand, "To the best mom ever." And on the back, in her pen, she wrote carefully, "I miss you. I always have." She folded it in half again, gently. No envelope, no note. Just truth returned to sender. She waited until the house was quiet, then placed a plate of food outside his door. On top of it, she left the birthday card, folded, the side, with her words facing up. It was the only reply she could think of. Not a message, a memory. She lingered for a second, hand brushing the door as if to say something, but the silence said more, and she walked away. Later that night, he opened the door just a little. The hallway was still, quiet. On the floor was a plate of food, and the card. That card. He picked it up, flipped it over. The handwriting was hers, soft and careful. "I miss you. I always have." No big reaction, just a stillness in his eyes. But he didn't shut the door all the way behind him. He sat there for a long time, not in front of a screen, not with music drowning him out, just him, a piece of paper, and everything we never said. I don't know if he was angry, or hurt, or just tired, but I know he stayed, and for the first time in so long, he listened. He found her asleep on the couch, not with the TV on, not pretending she wasn't waiting, just sleeping, holding their memories like they were the only thing that could still hold her back. He didn't say anything, just picked up the blanket and laid it gently across her shoulders. She didn't feel it then, but maybe she was never really alone. He stood there for a while, just behind the couch. She was asleep, wrapped in old memories and a photo album she hadn't touched in years. He reached out, then stopped, almost touched her shoulder, almost said something. But the page of the album turned on its own, like even the silence was breathing with them. She walked into the kitchen, same as always. But there it was, a folded piece of paper next to an empty plate. Her name wasn't on it, but she knew. She opened it slowly, afraid to breathe too loud. And when she read it, she didn't cry. She just closed her eyes and felt something loosen. It wasn't much, but it was real. The house was still quiet that morning, but it didn't feel cold anymore. She stood by the window, holding his note in one hand and a cup of tea in the other. Just 5 words, carefully written, but enough to let the light back in. "Thanks for the food. Sorry I've been quiet. Maybe silence isn't rejection. Maybe it's just pain. Maybe they both just needed someone to knock first."